Good evening, I'm Michael and you're watching Kini News, the show that brings you today's biggest stories. If you're in Kedah, Terengganu, Johor and Malacca, I may have some good news for you. But if you're in Kelantan, get ready for the CMCO. The National Security Council has decided to lift the statewide conditional movement control order on Kedah, Terengganu, Johor and Malacca beginning tomorrow. This is due to a drop in active COVID-19 cases in recent weeks. However, the CMCO order will continue to be in effect in certain districts, namely Kulim, Kedah, Mersing, Johor and Kota Tinggi, Johor. Meanwhile, Kelantan will be placed under a 2-week CMCO beginning Saturday, November 21st until December 6th due to a recent spike in infections in the state.
Sidang khas MKN hari ini juga mendengar pembentangan dari KKM mengenai situasi semasa kes COVID-19 di seluruh negeri Kelantan. Berdasarkan penilaian risiko yang telah dilaksanakan oleh KKM, mendapati terdapat peningkatan kes COVID-19 secara mendadak di beberapa daerah dan mukim di negeri ini. Sehubungan dengan itu, di atas nasihat KKM, sidang khas hari ini bersetuju untuk melaksanakan perintah kawalan pergerakan bersyarat di seluruh negeri Kelantan selama 2 minggu.
In a separate development, Ismail Sabri announced that the government will mandate COVID-19 tests on all foreign workers across all sectors in Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, Negeri Sembilan, Penang, Sabah and Labuan. The test prescribed will be the antigen-based rapid test kit. For workers registered with the Social Security Organisation, SOSCO, they will receive a subsidy of 60 ringgit per test, while employees will have to foot the rest of the bill. For workers not registered with SOSCO, the full cost of the tests will be borne by the employers. Dr. Mahathir Mohamad appears to be certain that civil servants can still be paid even if the government loses the vote on Budget 2021.
Former Prime Minister Dr. Mahadev Mahadev has dismissed claims that the salaries of civil servants and frontliners will not be able to be paid if Budget 2021 is not approved. Mahadev pointed out that when he was the Prime Minister in 1999, the budget, which was tabled in October, did not get debated because Parliament was dissolved in November of that year to give way for the 10th general election. He said, after the election, the government with the new mandate received the approval of the Dewan Rakyat for an allocation of government expenditure for 2 or 3 months while waiting for the special budget conference to be held in February 2000. And the allocation ensured that administrative expenses were uninterrupted and salaries, pensions, as well as allowances for civil servants were not affected. He added that the allocation also included payment for other additional expenditures, either for ministries or to ease the lives of the people. Mahadev said it was irresponsible for Finance Minister Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz and other government leaders to issue threatening statements to pressure MPs to approve Budget 2021. According to Mahadev, their statement was meant to restrain MPs from carrying out their duty to ensure that the budget is for the interest of the people and not the political interest of the ruling party. He added that he hoped that the finance minister and the government leaders who are in the throes of losing power will stop issuing baseless statements to intimidate the people solely for their political survival.
Members of the student group Yumani have been facing violent threats following its controversial statement. Now they're hoping the police could put an end to it. University Malaya student group Yumani lodged a police report today after its members received death, rape and acid attack threats recently. The student group, called the University Malaya Association of New Youth, INFOL, said they began receiving threats on November 18th, which were accompanied by their photos.
Beberapa ahli Yumani telah menerima ugutan menerusi panggilan telefon dan mesej oleh individu yang tidak dikenali. Kandungan yang diterima oleh ahli Yumani termasuk 1. Gambar ugutan bunuh dan rogol terhadap ahli Yumani dan yang mengandungi potret dan potret kad pengenalan mereka. Kedua, ugutan berniat untuk merogol ahli wanita Yumani. Ketiga, ugutan berniat untuk membaling asid terhadap ahli Yumani serta ahli keluarga mereka. Yang keempat, ugutan berniat untuk membunuh ahli Yumani serta ahli keluarga mereka. Dan kelima, serangan peribadi terhadap ahli Yumani menggunakan bahasa kasar dan perkataan berbau rasis.
The threats came almost 2 weeks after the group published a controversial statement regarding the role of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong in national affairs. This is after the King rejected the government's request for an emergency declaration and had advised all MPs to support Budget 2021. Yumani argued that the King, quote, should not interfere in national affairs, must always maintain a neutral attitude and play his role within the framework permitted by the Constitution. They have since withdrawn their statement and apologized last week. The association is being probed under the Sedition Act as well as the Communications and Multimedia Act for the controversial statement.
Kami memintalah polis PDRM mengambil tindakan segera demi keselamatan ahli-ahli Yumani.
The number of new COVID-19 cases today fell below 1,000. Here's the country's latest figures.
The Health Ministry reported 958 new COVID-19 cases as of noon today, with 5 imported cases. Out of the local cases, Sabah reported the highest number, with 512. This was followed by Selangor and Negeri Sembilan with 153 cases each. There were 956 recoveries, which brought the total recovered cases to 39,088. Health Ministry Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said that there were 110 patients in intensive care, with 42 requiring ventilator support. 3 new deaths were also reported in Sabah, bringing the death toll in the country to 329. The youngest of the 3 victims was a 32-year-old Malaysian female who passed away at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The other 2 victims were a 39-year-old Malaysian male and a 64-year-old foreign male who both passed away at the Tawau Hospital.
Looks like Umno will need to work with Bersatu in the next election if it wants to work with PAS. Here's why.
Umno's plan to go into the next general election only with PAS is no longer an option, said BN Secretary General Anwar Musa. He said, this is as PAS has insisted that Umno must also ally with Bersatu.
Saya dah kata dalam kajian kita itu, UMNO dan PAS ada kekuatan sendiri dan memang boleh menang. Tapi tanya PAS, adakah PAS boleh terima idea hanya UMNO dan PAS dan tinggalkan Bersatu?
Anwar said this during an interview with UMNO Information Chief Sharil Hamdan last night, in response to a question on why not have only UMNO and PAS work together. He said he had already asked PAS and they had made their stance clear during the Muafakat National meeting on Wednesday. He added that PAS was also a member of Perikatan Nasional and would not leave Bersatu behind. Anwar also responded to claims of UMNO not being treated with the respect it deserves as the biggest party in the loose ruling coalition. He said, it is a false narrative as half the cabinet is from BN and they could do what they wanted as part of the government. He added that at times, UMNO is trapped in a superiority complex and had forgotten that they had been defeated in the last general election. Anwar said the party had worked and improved in stages and would be treated better as it became stronger.
Americans have been advised not to travel during next week's holiday. Find out why after this. Americans have been advised not to travel during next week's Thanksgiving holiday to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 around the US.
The US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Thursday strongly recommended Americans not to travel for Thanksgiving. This came a day after the US passed a milestone of 250,000 deaths from COVID-19. The CDC also warned against gathering with anyone who hasn't lived in the same household for at least 14 days. The remarks came as new infections rose across the country, and as the US again set a record for the number of patients hospitalized with COVID-19 nationwide. A Reuters tally showed nearly 79,000 people in the United States were hospitalized with the virus on Thursday. Over the past 14 days, hospitalizations jumped nearly 50%, straining the nation's healthcare system and forcing states to impose new restrictions. New York City abruptly shut in-person learning as the city's 7-day positive test rate averaged 3%. Mayor Bill de Blasio said it was a painful but necessary step.
And I do want to say how much I feel and understand the frustration of parents that so many of them want their kids to be in school, and that's what I fought for in opening our schools back in September.
However, the mayor faced backlash for his decision, with outraged parents rallying outside City Hall on Thursday. As the cases mounted across the country, there was some encouraging news on vaccines. AstraZeneca and Oxford University on Thursday said their potential COVID-19 vaccine produced a strong immune response in older adults, while Moderna said its vaccine was 94.5% effective in preventing COVID-19. Drug makers Pfizer and BioNTech also released data showing their vaccine was 95% effective in preventing infections. Pfizer said it planned to apply for FDA emergency use authorization within days, raising hopes that a working vaccine could soon become a reality.
Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the election results have further narrowed as another state affirmed Joe Biden's victory.
After a painstaking recount, Georgia officials confirmed on Thursday that President-elect Joe Biden defeated President Donald Trump in the battleground state on November 3rd. The result of the 6-day hand recount of the state's 5 million ballots had been widely expected. This was despite baseless allegations from Trump and his allies that Georgia's vote tallies were suspect because of widespread fraud. Amid a series of losses in court, Trump's re-election campaign has shifted to a new strategy that relies on persuading Republican state legislatures in crucial states to ignore the election results and intervene on Trump's behalf, according to 3 people familiar with the plan. Trump's campaign had filed multiple lawsuits to try to challenge the results in the battleground states that Biden won, as election officials across the country have affirmed that there is no evidence of major irregularities. Judges in 3 states delivered new legal setbacks to the campaign on Thursday, rejecting claims of improper vote counting. A day earlier, Trump took his election fight to Wisconsin, seeking a partial recount of the state's presidential election results. The Trump campaign forked over $3 million to Wisconsin to cover the cost of recounting votes in Milwaukee and Dane counties, 2 heavily Democratic areas. The Milwaukee County clerk said he hoped to finish the recount before December 1st. The Dane County clerk said Biden could end up with more votes after the recount, but said, either way, Biden's more than 20,000 vote lead in the state was unlikely to change much. The recount comes as Trump continues to level all kinds of election fraud allegations on Twitter, many of which were unsupported by evidence, and others untrue. While Trump's closest Republican allies continue to say he has every right to challenge the election results, some Democrats are getting fed up and say it's getting dangerous. In remarks on Thursday, after a call with 10 state governors, Biden called Trump's attempt to reverse the results totally irresponsible. Critics have said that Trump's refusal to concede has serious implications for national security and the fight against the coronavirus, which has killed more than 250,000 Americans. Biden is not receiving the classified intelligence due to a president-elect, and his transition team has not received the funding, office space and briefings from current government officials normally afforded to an incoming administration. Biden warned the delay could cause additional deaths as the pandemic surges to record levels across the country.
And that is all for me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'll be back again next week, same time, same place. I'm Prasad Michael. Thank you for watching.